Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Just want to start off by saying a big shout out to Dana and Roger Wilson for becoming my 2 new patrons. Again, I look forward to adding a lot of value to you all's trades and helping you the best way I can to make money and profit in the year 2020. For anybody else, if you're looking to become a patron, the link is down below. And these are the 3 tiers. Pause the video if you want to see what each tier offer, but this is the best way for me to work with you one-on-one, hand in hand, and get a lot of private videos and voice conferences and work with you as far as trading. TTMTrades, I'm out. Let's jump into the technical analysis. Welcome back to TTMTrades. Today we're going to be talking about ticker Netlfix, and then we'll go over Amazon just a little bit, who crushed their earnings after market, and after hours trading, they're already up $200. So whoever got call options on that one prior to their earnings coming out, congratulations, you just made a lot of money. So before we get started, man, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the channel, and go ahead and hit that notification button so you know when I post videos. Also, below we have the link down to our Discord chat room that we are rebuilding and setting up, and bringing in fresh members and new traders. It's a mastermind community of traders just working together. So if you want to join, down below, check the link out. And then just for more exclusive content and more in-depth content on how I trade and things that I look at, check out my Patreon. And if you want to support, then check it out. But let's just get right into it. So today we're going to talk about Netlfix. So let's go ahead and enlarge that. All right, so looking at Netlfix, right? Now what I do is we do a multiple time frame analysis, right? So with that being said, right here we have the 5-minute chart, we have the 30-minute chart, 2-hour chart, and daily chart. Okay, now one of my trading strategies, well, my only trading strategy that I use is I use a double Bollinger Band trading strategy, right? One with a 1 standard deviation and one with a 2 standard deviation, with a 30 SMA rather than the 20 SMA, which is the default one on most trading platforms. So I kind of modified my settings on mine. But with that being said, with the double Bollinger Band strategy, 1, it helps me identify trends. 2, it helps me identify volatility, and 2, it also helps me 3, and it also helps me identify breakouts, right? And that yellow line that you see across the screen, that is my 150 period SMA. Okay, now I did the math. The 150 period SMA equivalates to the next higher time frames middle Bollinger Band. Okay, in order for a stock to be in a strong uptrend per the double Bollinger Band concept, which I trade, a stock has to hold above its 30 SMA at all times. Okay, so with that being said, no matter what time frame, whether it's the 30 SMA on the 5-minute time frame, as you see here, 30 SMA on the 30-minute time frame you see here, 30 SMA on the 2-hour time frame, or the 30 SMA on the daily. Okay, now a stock must hold above that 30 SMA per that time frame to show that it is in a strong uptrend and continue in this uptrend. All right, now with that being said, the 150 period SMA, the yellow line that you see here, every lower time frame, the 150 period SMA represents the higher time frames 30 period SMA. Okay, so what it does is, even though I'm looking in deep at a lower time frame, it helps me identify how I'm positioned in the next higher time frame. So for example, looking here on the 5-minute chart, the 150 period SMA, the yellow line is sitting right around 343. If I go to the 30-minute chart time frame, you see the 30 SMA is sitting right at 344. If I look at the 150 SMA on the 30-minute chart, which is sitting right at about 341. If I go to the higher time frame, which is the 2-hour chart, it's sitting right at 343, give or take, it's off $2. Okay, and then if I go to the 150 SMA on the 2-hour chart, which is sitting at 328, Then as we go to the daily, it's currently sitting at 335. Now, reason being for that is the bands is beginning to constrict, which signals a breakout. All right, but again, it gives me a rough idea. Even though I'm in a lower time frame, it gives me a rough idea of how I'm positioned in that higher time frame. Okay, now one other rule that I want to point out, and I don't really want to go into these things too much in depth. Again, that's for my premium members. As we, go over charts and things of that nature and how I trade. Okay, one thing that I look for in a stock, as far as trend and pinpointing my entries and X's, is I look for each time frame, one, to be above its 150 period SMA, right, and two, that those time frames are each trading above the 30 period SMA at the same time, give or take. Now, with the lower time frames, you're going to have some fluctuation among the 30 period SMA due to the sensitivity of the lower time frames. But for the bigger part, I'm usually looking for the daily and the 2-hour time frame to always hold above its 30 period SMA and this 150 period SMA to show me that it is in a strong uptrend. All right, so with all that being said, looking at Netflix. On the daily, we can see that Netflix was recovering from a downtrend back in July 2019. From July 2019, it ran down from 382 all the way to a low of 253. All right, right around September, we started noticing that it was recovering. Anytime a stock, again, is in a strong downtrend, it will stay below its 30 period SMA. Now, anytime it is in a strong uptrend, it will remain above its 30 period SMA. All right, so as we see, strong downtrend, tried to reverse, got to the 30 period SMA, automatically rejected, and dropped even steeper. All right, now as the chart as the price action began to recover, it broke above that 30 period SMA. As it pulled back, it stayed within the bands and held. And now we see that the trend has reversed since October, because now it is an upward trend, creating higher highs and higher lows, and again holding above that 30 period SMA. So again, started a run up, contributing to a higher high, pulled back, held above that 30 period SMA, creating a higher low. Started another run up again, as it got close to the 150 period SMA on the daily. Okay, that would coordinate to the weekly's middle Bollinger Band. So as it started pushing up to the weekly's middle Bollinger Band, again, some price action is selling off, pulled back to that 30 SMA. Although it fell below it, it stayed right with it. And again, you get another run up once above the 30 period SMA and above the weekly time frames middle Bollinger Band. So if I go here to the 5-minute chart, and we zoom out to the weekly, let me show you what I'm talking about. We'll go out to the weekly here. All right, on this run up in 13 December up to 20 December, when it crossed the 150 period SMA, it was when it crossed the 150 period SMA on the daily, it was crossing the weekly's middle Bollinger Band, meaning that I know on a higher time frame that we are moving up. We've crossed the higher time frames middle Bollinger Band, which is a big deal, because now we could possibly be starting an uptrend on said higher time frame. So again, from 12 December, price action crossed up 17 December up to 20 December is when it peaked out. So if we look here, this is now the weekly time frame. You can see here, 9 December running up, there's your crossover up until 23 December, and then it starts to pull back. So here again on the daily, 23 December starts to pull back, right? So it helps me identify it. Now, as we look, you can see the price action is not only holding above its 30 period SMA, but we've now crossed above the weekly's middle Bollinger Band, which is represented by the 150 period SMA, and we're holding above it, moving into the upper Bollinger Band. Okay, now anytime the price action is holding above its two upper middle Bollinger Bands, the 1 standard deviation and the 2 standard deviation, and holds above that, that means the price action is trending in an uptrend very hard. Okay, so for example, as you see here on this weekly chart from 29 August of 2016, when the price action broke above its middle Bollinger Band and held above the two top 1 standard and 2 standard deviation Bollinger Bands, the price action was in a strong uptrend. Again, fell back to that 30 SMA, broke out again, fell back to that 30 SMA, broke out again, and as you can see, as it's between its two upper one standard and two standard deviation Bollinger Bands, it is in a strong uptrend and holding. All right, our first signal that that trend was failing is when it fell below its top one standard deviation Bollinger Band. All right, so again, looking here on the weekly, we can see that Netflix was constantly pushing up into that upper Bollinger Band and then failing, pushing up into that upper Bollinger Band and failing. So again, we have a reattempt at pushing up into that upper Bollinger Band. Okay, so one or two things are going to happen here. We're either going to break out into 360 and push and hold, or we're going to break back down and find support on that 334 on a weekly, because we're looking at the higher time frame right now, or we're going to break all the way back down and fall back down to that 307. Okay, so on a weekly, if you notice, the 334 top one standard deviation Bollinger Band correlates to the 30 period SMA on a daily, and then that 307 drop will coordinate to the daily's 150 period SMA. Again, so you look, that drop, 150 period SMA sitting at 310, so it's about $3 off, but it gives me a rough idea. All right, now going back, I want to keep an eye on Netflix, because what we see here as we do a multiple time frame analysis is Netflix in a strong uptrend. Yes, per the daily, holding above its 30 period SMA, has not fallen below it. It lets us know that Netflix is in a strong trend. What is Netflix currently doing? Netflix is currently consolidating. As you can see, the bands are beginning to tighten, showing that Netflix is consolidating for a possible breakout here, more than likely to the upside due to its setup. One, it's above its 150 period SMA on a daily. Two, is holding above its 30 period middle Bollinger Band, which shows that the stock is in a continuous uptrend. All right, so where do we think this stock is going to break out at? More than likely, it's going to break out to the upside. Okay, if for any reason Netflix was to fall and break below that 335 on high volume, then that would be a fair warning sign that possibly it could be reversing to the downside to retest that 310 150 period SMA, which again is the weekly's middle Bollinger Band. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to watch intraday to see how the price action is playing out. All right, so I'm gonna double click. We're gonna pull up the MACD, as you see down below. Now, looking at the MACD, I'm not gonna go too much in detail on this one. Again, if you want to learn and understand how to trade in depth, check out the Discord and check out the Patreon channel and support. Okay, we'll spend more time breaking down how I trade. Now, with that being said, I use my MACD totally different. By default, the MACD settings is like 12, 26, and 9. Now, with a setting of 12, 26, and 9, the MACD makes a lot of noise, meaning there are a lot of crossovers, and I don't like a lot of noise. Okay, I want to know, are we either in an uptrend, a downtrend, or are we flat and sideways consolidating? So again, I've taken my MACD and I've changed those settings from 30, 75, and 10, which means I'll smooth the MACD all the way out to eliminate a lot of the noise and just in particularly identify a trend and then trade with that trend. Okay, so with that being said, looking at the MACD, okay, I have two moving averages that I keep on my MACD. All right, a 30 period moving average, which is the yellow line, and a 75 period moving average. All right, so looking at the MACD, we knew, fair warning, that Netflix was going to break down back in July 2019 because one, it crossed below both its moving averages, okay, and two, when it reattempted to get above both moving averages, as it tried to get above that 75, the green line, price action fell, and then finally Netflix broke all the way down. Now, me personally, I'm not going to pay attention to Netflix because one, is below its 30 period SMA, and two, with the MACD smoothed all the way out, one, it has not crossed over, and two, it hasn't even made an attempt to cross over both its moving averages. Okay, so again, when does Netflix gets on my radar? Netflix gets on my radar when one, it makes an attempt to cross and hold above that 30 period moving average, as we see here, and two, when that MACD finally crosses over and it holds above both its 2 period moving averages, 30 and 75. Okay, so with that being said, looking at it on a daily perspective, the trend is strong. The MACD is holding above both its 30 and 75 period moving average. We're in positive territory, and the signal line has, which is the blue line, has crossed fully over the white line and is continuing to trend upwards. All right, now as we see the daily consolidating, we need to identify, is Netflix going to break to the upside and or to the downside? This is when we start our multiple time frame analysis. Okay, now with that being said, it holds true for my trading style that in order for a stock to be in a continuous uptrend, each time frame must maintain above its 30 SMA, middle Bollinger Band, and it must maintain above its 150 period moving average. What do I mean by that? Let me give you a few examples. Well, let me give you one example. Let's look at Tesla real quick. Tesla broke out back in October of 19 and has been on a non-stop run ever since, all the way up to January 29th, and could possibly continue. Now, when does Tesla pop on my when does Tesla get on my radar? Okay, again, once Tesla can hold above its 30 period SMA, that's one. And two, when Tesla can hold above both its averages and it's in positive territory. All right, so when does Tesla get on my radar? One, Tesla is above its 30 period SMA and above its 150 period moving average, which symbols the weekly's middle Bollinger Band. Okay. Two, is crossed above both its moving averages and it's in positive territory at this point here. Okay. Now, with that being said, Tesla is on my radar back in 21 October. This is when myself and another fellow trader started paying attention to Tesla. All right. Now, again, as I said, if a stock is in a strong uptrend, it will hold above its 150 period SMA and its middle Bollinger Band at all times on each time frame. The only way a stock can trend is if it holds above its middle Bollinger Band and its 150 period SMA. Tesla, for example, above its middle Bollinger Band and above its 150 period SMA. Strong trend, non-stop. We know the trend is very strong when it stays above its two upper Bollinger Bands. And as you can see, Tesla is on a run and you never get a sell signal. Okay, we do multiple time frame analysis, even looking at the 2-hour chart. 2-hour chart here. As you can see here, if I zoom out to October, when we first got the signal on an intraday time frame, back in October, price action, again in September, it broke out above the 150 period SMA, yellow line right here, but failed to hold above its 30 period SMA and got rejected. Again, broke out above its 30 period, well, broke out above the middle Bollinger Band, excuse me, and held above its 150 period SMA as it found support, and then it continued running. All right, so if we look here, above its 30 and above its 150 period moving average. Breakout, again, run, find support on that 30 period moving average, continues to run, steady trending. Netflix breaks down back in 21 November to 22 November. When is that? We look here on the daily, 21 November to 22 November. Again, until Tesla crosses back above its 30 period SMA on a 2-hour chart, we know that the stock is not going to trend on its daily until that happens. So Netflix stays consolidating from 22 November all the way to 5 December. Right. So we know Tesla is not going to trend until it breaks back above that 30 period SMA. So on a 2-hour time frame from 22 November to 5 December, Tesla was consolidating. If I go to the daily, let's find it. 22 November all the way to 5 December. Netflix was consolidating, right? Once the 2-hour time frame broke out above its 30 period SMA and started trending on 9 December, that's when we start paying back attention to Tesla, and we know that it is back in a strong uptrend. So we go to the chart, 9 December, Tesla breaks out, and now it's forever trending as it's signaling here, right? So multiple time frame analysis helps you identify these trends and when to enter and exit them. Now, I know it's a lot easier to look at it when you have all the future data right in front of you, okay? But that is what we're looking for, and that is what I'm beginning to see on Netflix. So as we go back to Netflix and look at it and do our due diligence of multiple time frame analysis, one, we see Netflix is above its 150 period SMA and it's holding above its middle Bollinger Band. The bands are beginning to constrict, signaling that the price action is consolidating and a breakout is around the corner. Okay. Now, as we do our intraday analysis, all right, we use the 5-minute and 30-minute chart for entry points and exit points. And we use the daily and the 2-hour chart for overall trend identification. Okay. So again, we know that Netflix is in a strong uptrend, PMO cross, positive territory above both averages. So we'll get rid of that. Looking at the 2-hour chart, back when Netflix dipped in 11 December, we played calls on this one, and it ran up at the moment it crossed above its 30 period SMA and held. As it ran up from 11 December to 20 December, profits made, began pulling back. We left it alone. Now you can see that Netflix is doing some sideways consolidation. Here recently, when earnings report came out, it dipped down to its middle Bollinger Band on the 2-hour chart, which is 150 SMA. If I go to the daily chart, it's middle Bollinger Band right here. And then again, immediately you get some buying and the price breaks out. All right, pushing at 360. And now the price action is pulling back and it's consolidating on its middle Bollinger Band, which would be reflected on a 30-minute chart, 150 period SMA. So price action is pulling back and it's consolidating on its 150 period SMA, which represents the 2 hours chart, middle Bollinger Band. Now, what are we looking for? All right, daily, does it have it set up? Yes, above 150 SMA, above the 30, good setup. 2 hour, does it have it set up? Yes, above the 150 SMA, above its middle Bollinger Band, beginning to trend up, good setup. 30 period, 30-minute chart, above its 150 SMA, above its middle Bollinger Band. Now, is there a chance that this could pull back? Yes, because as we identify the problem, we see on a 30 that it's been rejected here. Well, that was the high created. As the price action ran up, it tried to hold above that top 1 standard deviation Bollinger Band, failed, but found support on 150 period SMA, which is the 2-hour charts middle BB right here, 150 SMA, boom. Starts to break out on the 30-minute, starts to break out. What we want to see on the 30-minute chart is the 30-minute chart breaks out above its 2 resistance lines sitting at 347 and 350. If Netflix can make a break above 347 and 350 and hold that uptrend, then we know that Netflix is preparing for a upward breakout, because on a daily it is beginning to consolidate, signaling that a breakout is about to happen. All right, looking at the PMO for the 2-hour chart, we see that it was doing some sideways consolidation. Meanwhile, above a zero line the entire time in positive territory. As it made that cross up, PMO crossed over, the MACD crossed over, and now it's beginning to curtail back up. Found support right on its 30 period moving average and it's beginning to curtail back up. So we know the daily and the 2 hours set up perfect. All right. What we need now is we need the 30-minute chart to break out and hold. As we see the 30-minute chart doing some consolidation, breaking down, finally is trying to cross back over and it's still in positive territory. We can see that downward momentum is slowing as the histogram is beginning to trend up. And what we want to see is that histogram go from red to orange and then turn green. All right, as we can see a lot of red, orange is starting to disappear. We want to see that 30-minute chart turn green. If again that 30-minute chart breaks out above its 350, then we know that Netflix is going to break out in a uptrend. Now, as you can see, again, these smaller time frames are a lot more agile to bounce back and forth among its 30 and 150 period SMA. But as we see here, the 5-minute chart is breaking back out above its 150 period SMA, sitting at 343. PMO is beginning to, not PMO, I'm so used to using the PMO, started using the MACD. But MACD is trending in positive territory and above its 2 moving averages. What we could possibly see here, as it attempts this resistance one last time, you may get a minor pullback. But if that minor pullback happens to come back to 344, give or take 345, and holds with strength and then begins to continue its uptrend on a 5-minute chart, then that will support the 30-minute chart move into the 350 breakout. So we want to keep an eye on Netflix because we see the daily chart is consolidating, and we could possibly have a breakout here soon to the upside. Now, just looking at the weekly chart, where are we possibly moving to? All right, looking at the weekly chart here, again, as you can see here, we topped out here at 385. Again, rejected 385 back in April 19, rejected 383 back in July 19, and then you get the fail to find the support on 150 pair SMA. So now we're sitting at 347. So from 347, we could possibly get another attempt, one, to break that 360 where the price action last topped out at. So we need to break 360, and then if we break 360, then we can get another attempt at 385 before some possible selling and the overall trend pulls back. So for my call option traders, I would say this is a good time to now start positioning yourself as long as the 30-minute chart holds above its 150 period SMA, right? But this is the perfect time to start positioning yourself with call options to possibly make a $20 to $40 run here in the next month or so as far as Netflix goes. All right, that's all we're going to talk about today is Netflix. I hope you guys kind of understood that multiple time frame analysis. I go way more in depth as far as for my premium members. I'm going to start posting a lot of videos for them on how I trade in the Bollinger Band strategy I use, along with the different moving averages and what they signify and why we use those moving averages. Okay. We're not just going to use a moving average just because everyone else is doing it. Mathematically, we're using a moving average for a particular reason because it interlocks with all the other smaller time frames, and it only makes sense. Okay, but Netflix is on watch, and I believe we're going to get a breakout here to the upside. Again, TTMTrades, that's all I have for today. Check out the Discord. The link is below. If you want to get more in-depth and work one-on-one with me, the Patreon is also down below. Become a Patreon. Reach out to me, and we'll go over some things together in a couple of trades. Again, I'm TTMTrades, and I'm out.
Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.